Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be reacting to the Fortnite lore explained or whatever. So I'm pretty sure this isn't like completely like right where we are in Fortnite, so I'm going to be reacting to some more lore. Yeah. Here we go. This is gonna be a very confusing video.
Over the last 5 years, we've witnessed Fortnite's island constantly facing off against world-ending threats. So while things sometimes feel disconnected, after years, everything will tie together to create the next era of the storyline in Chapter 4. This entire time, there's always been one thing the story has revolved around. While you might expect it to be a person or organization, it's actually this orb of energy. This is the center of not just our story, but the creation of life itself. Millions of years before Chapter 1, there's a Big Bang which formed every universe in existence. The first one being Reality Zero, and it's here where our journey takes place.
Okay.
The aftermath of the Big Bang left behind a huge mass of energy known as the 0 point, which is tethered to every single reality. Because of this, beings have been trying to gain control over it for countless years.
Wait, so is this how they're saying, like, Galactus in Fortnite and stuff like that?
But it found a way to defend itself. The island was created to disguise the 0 point, sandwiching itself between two chunks of land. On the surface was a powerful storm along with a fake sky, appearing as a huge bubble in space and time. Anyone who went here was wiped out by the storm until one person defied the odds, becoming the first to wield the 0 point's power. This was GENO, an immortal scientist who was obsessed with perfection. Along with his mysterious inner circle, GENO created an organization known as the Imagined Order, with one goal in mind: to create the ideal society. He thought that if he could see how every world was made, he could use that information to perfect his surroundings, even going as far as genetically modifying his own daughters. So the Imagined Order built the Bridge, a base of operations where they could control the storm, using it to create the Loop. This is an experimental program that forces people to fight each other over and over again, and to make it a fair contest, it removes your memory, stops you from speaking, and resets every 22 minutes. Now, of course, nobody would agree to this, and that's why the IO opened portals to countless realities, kidnapping whoever they wanted for their new society. This went undetected for years, until GENO kidnapped the wrong kind of people. Some of them were extremely intelligent and managed to escape the loop, realizing that this horrifying program needs to be stopped. They formed a group dedicated to fighting against him, naming themselves the Seven. Their goal: to liberate the 0 point and destroy the loop no matter the cost. Our story begins hundreds of years later when the Visitor arrives on the island. He crashes down on a meteor to test the capabilities of their suits, protecting them from the loop. With the mission successful, he rips back home, but this causes a huge domino effect that we're still feeling today. Before the rift closes, a dark energy emerges in the form of a cube. It has enough power to destroy the island in a single blow, and this clearly isn't the first reality to be conquered. Even though the 0 point is able to defend itself, it needs help next time around. When a huge shard of ice crashes into the island, an alien creature is unleashed. The Imagined Order are perfectly fine with the monster killing everyone, but there's one person trying to convince them otherwise: the Paradigm, a skilled pilot and member of the Seven. She's currently imprisoned by the IO, who are worried that the monster poses a threat to the 0 point. Instead of their plan to kill it with a doomsday weapon, she offers to pilot the mech and defeat it herself. So, one of the IO's engineers, Singularity, constructs the robot while Paradigm prepares for the final showdown. After a huge battle, she emerges victorious and decides to investigate where the monster came from. The Seven are furious when they learn about this, especially the Foundation, who labels her a traitor. He's satisfied pretty quickly when they find out the robot crashed into a nearby planet called the Ice Moon. The temperatures are so low that it's impossible to survive, leaving them to assume Paradigm is dead. Now, there's one big problem: the monster exposes 0 point, and it's destabilizing fast. As it prepares to implode, everything gets sucked into the orb, and for days, we get our first look at the Nothing. It is pure darkness. The name speaks for itself, as there's literally nothing left except for a black hole. Once the 0 point is stabilized, it spits everything back out, allowing the Imagined Order to gain control of the bridge and continue as normal. With the loop up and running again, they send a team of agents to survey the area. But this is where you need to understand one of the key elements of the story. Anyone who escapes the loop leaves behind a clone of themselves known as a snapshot. This team of
Jeez.
agents came face to face with their snapshots, but there was something different. They weren't clones, they had been altered somehow, and the true perpetrator was about to reveal himself. Chaos Agent, a mad scientist with a thrilling backstory. He was part of a crime syndicate known as Shadow, founded by a mob boss with a hunger for power. For years, this group worked undercover, blackmailing people, gathering information, and amassing a huge wealth. At the top of this empire was Midas. Just like the legend he's based on, Midas was punished for being extremely greedy. At one point, he went searching for the body of King Oro, hoping to find his golden treasures, but instead, Midas found the curse of the Golden Touch. As time passes, Chaos Agent betrays him and takes Shadow for himself. And so Midas is furious, and he uses his wealth to create a new organization, Ghost. As they wage war against one another, a more important battle lies ahead. This marks the beginning of the Loop Breaker project, which we'll learn more about in Chapter 4. But
I'm
the outcome
actually
of this
so
is his
confused.
device that'll push back the storm and destroy the loop once and for all. The Imagined Order, more importantly, John Jones, is trying to stop it. He's a field agent who has dedicated his life to the organization, leaving behind hundreds of snapshots. After Midas' plan is shut down, transforming the storm, it isn't long before Jones faces a new threat from outer space, and it leaves the 0 point exposed once again.
Bro.
He can't risk anyone escaping the loop, so he recruits the galaxy's best bounty hunters to maintain order on the island. Throughout the next few months, Jones travels to 88 different realities. By the time he finishes his job, he learns that the IO didn't do theirs. The 0 point is on the brink of imploding. He begs his boss, Dr. Sloan, to do something, but she doesn't listen. They would rather let it destabilize than risk losing control, but not on Jones's watch, not again. He abandons the IO, turning his back on the organization he dedicated his life's work to. There is no choice but to take matters into his own hands.
So he's gonna.
Have your orders. Now get out of there.
I'm gonna do what we should have done from the very start. I'm going to the 7.
You took an oath. You're betraying everything we did for you.
After throwing his portal device into the 0 point, Jones summons the Foundation and asks for help. He refuses to work with him until Jones presents an offer he can't refuse, taking him to GENO. As the 0 point breaks down and is on the brink of tearing itself apart, it starts to bloom like a flower. Jones says that he spent his whole life studying it, but this is the first time he's ever seen it react like this. There is no time to appreciate the view as the damage is irreversible. This thing is about to explode and take the entire island with it. There is only one option
that's
left.
why
to
they-
contain the blast,
yeah.
the Foundation seals himself into a tower of stone. In the ultimate sacrifice, Jones overloads his portal gun, leaving him trapped in the loop. The spire is extremely tall, cutting off access to the 0 point entirely. The Imagined Order is furious and arrests Jones for treason. Without access to the 0 point, the IO needs to improvise. There are two ways to travel across the Omniverse, with the main one being pure portals. This was the only method the IO knew about, but there is another way, sideways rifts, which could be opened without the 0 point. It's a technology that the 7 experimented with in Chapter 1 through the rocket launch, but they quickly realized that it takes a long time to close, making it extremely risky. This is what led to the arrival of the corruption cube that nearly destroyed the island, and thanks to the spire, it was about to get so much worse. With nobody in control of the 0 point, it's left completely vulnerable, and this is where a huge mothership approaches the spire, obliterating it in an instant. Foundation is ejected out of the orb, while Sloan has no choice but to fight against the invasion. This mothership unleashes an army of aliens known as the Chimera as they abduct POIs and attempt to destroy the island piece by piece. Sloan begins work on Operation Skyfire, a way to take down the invaders and save Reality Zero for good. But for this to work, she needs the element of surprise. She plants dozens of bombs underneath Corny Complex and leaks the location to the Chimera, and they take the bait immediately. Now, Operation Skyfire won't work without the help of loopers. Sloan sends them into the mothership to make sure everything goes smoothly. Even though this plan is bulletproof, there is one thing Sloan never accounted for. While she masterminded the ambush, the Chimera had a surprise of their own.
This is impossible.
Yeah, the cube comes back and that's why the oh my
Sloan
gosh.
is terrified and realizes the true scale of the threat. Even though the loopers are able to shut down the cube, she leaves them to die. In a desperate attempt to survive, they reboot it, removing all of the dark energy and corruption to turn it blue. The elevator begins to rise, and this is where the reveal sets in. The Chimera weren't in charge. They were just a weapon, warriors of a larger enemy called the Last Reality, and their leader, the Cube Queen, has thousands of cubes at her disposal. Sloan's bombs detonate, sending the entire wrath of the Last Reality towards the island. Or so we thought. Just like the cube before it, this mothership was part of a colossal army, and the Queen was prepared to summon them. Now luckily, no one is giving up yet. Time and time again, the Seven have been here to save reality, and this was their toughest challenge yet. For years, they have been putting together a plan that will take down the last reality in the IO in one quick sweep. With the Queen's sideways portals about to open, we catch a glimpse of the force she's about to unleash. While a war wages on the surface, Sloane is in the bridge about to terminate prisoner D204, aka John Jones. But seconds before they get exact revenge, they are ambushed by an old friend.
He came back somehow?
You came back for me.
You promised me, GENO.
Yeah.
Love you too, buddy.
As they head to the 0-point chamber, Foundation tells Jones to turn off the gyro system, which will take everyone to the other side. As the island
Sound
begins
like
to
food?
flip, they rush to complete their plan and take control of the
gyros.
bridge. It's the final step that'll put an end to all of the fighting and free the 0-point forever. And that's exactly why it fails, as the last reality show up, breaking open the glass and ruining the plan.
Oh my gosh, I forgot
Only a
about
small
that.
victory for the last reality as the island continues to flip, destroying the Cube Queen's portal. Her army is defeated for now. But I can't say the same for the Imagined Order, who are already plotting their counterattack. Sloane emerges from the ground wearing snow stealth gear to scout the new island. The Seven already know what's coming, a full-scale war. The scientist has an idea, but it's risky. The only way for them to survive the upcoming battle is help from an old friend. He believes that communicating with the Paradigm is their only hope, but the rest of the Seven refuse to listen. As far as they're concerned, she's a traitor and probably dead, but the scientist isn't gonna give up that easy. He breaks through to Paradigm, learning that she's alive and trapped inside the mech, but he needs to convince the Foundation to begin a rescue mission. So he lies, pretending he's talking to the AI in her suit. This is enough to deceive the Foundation, and they begin their journey to the Ice Moon. Meanwhile, the Imagined Order is out in full force. They have built a huge base of operations at Covert Cavern, forming a massive army of blimps, drills, and soldiers. At dawn, they begin their attack. The Zero War has begun, as the Resistance comes face to face with the IO on the battlefield. It's a bloodbath, as Sloane and her army take over the island and surround the sanctuary. But with the help of the Loopers, the Seven fight back. After months of war, they're able to take control of Tilted Towers, shoot down the IO blimps, and turn the tide. But the Order becomes desperate.
Oh my
GENO and
gosh.
Sloane begin to work on a doomsday device that'll annihilate everybody on the island. Ironically, it's the same plan that Paradigm stopped in Chapter 1, and now she has to do it all over again. As the Seven rescue her, Scientist reveals that he lied, as she explains her betrayal from all those years ago. Reluctantly, Foundation agrees to rebuild the mech and end the Zero War once and for all. It all comes to a close in the
Thank you.
grand finale collision, as the Mecha Strike Commander blasts towards the island. In a huge battle, both sides clash one last time as Gunner is the first to fall. Thousands of IO units are wiped out as the Seven approach the collider, and when the war seems lost, Dr. Sloane is the last line of defense.
Oh
Jones
my
tells
gosh,
everybody
I
to
forgot.
hold their fire. Him and Sloane have been co-workers, even friends, for hundreds of years. She wasn't always like this, and he's offering her a chance to finally redeem herself, surrender, and stop the bloodshed.
Yeah, but no.
Sloane is too stubborn. She refuses to give up and aims her tank right at the Seven. What she doesn't realize is that she never had a choice. It was give up or die. So with only GENO remaining, he attacks his daughters, the Order and the Imagined, who joined the
Little.
Seven after he replaced them with superior snapshots. The Imagined is hungry for revenge, no matter what it costs, and it's here she gets her final wish, tackling her father into the 0 point and killing both of them. As it cycles through countless realities per second, it rips them apart and scatters their atoms across the Omniverse. The Imagined dies in GENO's arms as he slowly fades away too. But before he goes, GENO leaves one final message for the Foundation. You always believed my methods were abhorrent, that you knew a better way. Congratulations, now you get to prove it. I genuinely hope you're right, because if you fail, it means the end of everything. I have to go now. I have to admit, it's good to lay my burden down after all this time. It'll be nice to rest. Let's just say, they should have listened to his warning. While the island party's celebrating their victory in the war, the 0 point blooms and nature takes over. But it begins to send out distress signals. Strange relics start to appear around the island, and the scientist is confused and really can't understand why it's doing this. The 0 point isn't searching for powerful weapons, something much more sinister is. Secretly, using the reality tree's power, the Herald finds the strongest weapon yet. Visiting the darkness, the nothing beyond all realities, she finds an evil presence. It gives her the power of Chrome, and it's about to be unleashed upon the island. The last reality can finally exact revenge. With GENO out of the way and the Seven caught off guard, they consume everyone. Only Paradigm is able to escape to an unknown reality 659. They have spent years annihilating universes, universes, ensuring that they are the only ones left standing. But there are infinite realities, and the 0 point is the only way to truly ensure that every single one is destroyed. With Chrome, it's time to finally complete their plan and ensure that the nothing is truly inevitable. The Paradigm is currently investigating the Loopbreaker project, hoping the answers are hidden inside, and it seems the only way to fight this Chrome is with gold. That is unless GENO returns sooner than we thought. He is currently piecing himself back together across multiple realities, so maybe he'll arrive just in time. After 4 years of constant mystery, action, and most importantly evolution, it is all coming together on December 3rd. Now you are fully caught up and ready for Fracture and what lays beyond. Hope you guys...
Okay, so now I'm gonna look for the Chapter 4 storyline. Well, actually, never mind. It's right here.
FORTNITE Chapter 4 is ushered in a new era of the storyline, introducing two mysterious groups who are desperate to control the island. It may feel like this all happened overnight, but FORTNITE removed half the live event, which answered a ridiculous amount of questions. This entire chapter ties back to the Seven, the Imagined Order, and the longest running mystery in the game. So to understand everything, we have to return to the Fracture event. After the Seven were consumed by Chrome, it continued to spread across the island, leaving nothing behind. In the final moments of the last reality's plan, the Herald weakened the 0 point and finished what she set out to do. As the Chrome slowly consumed her, the island exploded into thousands of pieces, and in the blink of an eye, everything we knew was gone. The 0 point was now exposed as the last reality closed in, but this wasn't the end. It fought back and destroyed the mothership, escaping to an unknown reality, and in the aftermath, we're left floating through space with some pieces of the island surviving. This kickstarts Paradigm and Amy's plan, Zero Fusion, a way to reforge the island and create a new home for all of us. So the 0 point begins...
See, this is the event that I missed, because I was busy. So I did not know what was going on, and this is making a lot more sense.
To pull pieces back together, but it's forced to take fragments from other realities, and this comes at a huge cost. Paradigm explains the risk of fusion, and we're left to believe that she sacrificed herself to make it happen. As she vanishes, her decoded message is all that's left of the Seven, and now our attention is turned to Chapter 4, a brand new island, and a fresh start for the storyline. Agent Jones and Amy are the only characters left alongside the most important villain in Fortnite's history, and he has brought an entire kingdom with him.
He's a
One of the
villain?
realities that we caught in Zero Fusion is the medieval world from thousands of years ago. It's full of castles, towns, and statues, and in the throne room, controlling it all is the Ageless. This mysterious knight is known as the People's Champion, who prefers the sword to the crown and will fight anyone to protect his kingdom. He sounds like a noble hero, and while that might be true, he is also hiding one of the biggest secrets in all of Fortnite. His kingdom is known as the Oathbound, and he rules it from the Citadel, a huge fortress with a throne room, dining hall, and grand entrance. If you look closely at the symbols on the walls and the flags hanging from the ceiling, the Oathbound are more familiar than we realize. Come to think of it, the Ageless's armor is also extremely familiar. It hints at the true nature of this kingdom and its leader, who is revealed to be GENO, the founder of the Imagined Order and arch nemesis of the Seven. His appearance in Chapter 3 showed an older man who seemed more experienced, but also cruel. The Ageless is none of those things, but there's a reason why. This is a snapshot of GENO from thousands of years ago, who was left behind to rule the Oathbound while he went to conquer Reality Zero. After taking control of the 0 point, he was able to build the bridge and create his masterpiece, the Imagined Order. But that doesn't mean they were first, as the Oathbound are his original society. Their name actually references the oath that GENO believes in, and the modern IOs still follow it to this day.
Okay, so what I'm picking up is that, so Chapter 4 is like a whole new start, except for with the new, except for with the Jonesy and Sloan and, the Foundation. But, or something like that. I don't know if the Foundation's even alive anymore. But what I'm picking up is that the Ageless is obviously the snapshot of, the, whoever, GENO, and when they piece back the island, they put together these different pieces from like thousands of years ago and thousands of years further. So I'm pretty sure that if they explain Chapter 4 Season 2, then they're just gonna explain that something exploded and they pieced it back together with something from the future, which is Mega City. And a lot of things maybe from the past, like explain like all the Japanese ninja things and places.
You took an oath. You're betraying everything we stood for you.
While the real GENO is still recovering from his quote-unquote death, the Ageless is here to restore balance and expand his kingdom. They are already conquering the island, trying to recruit as many people as possible. Many allies have already jumped on board, like Scrap Knight Jules, who says, "The tech on this new island is intriguing." Apparently, she's willing to work with anyone who could teach her about it, even the Oathbound and their Rift Warden, who we'll talk about later in the video. Raptorian the Brave has also joined the cause, swearing loyalty, but he does admit that it feels a little too perfect. I guess that even in the earliest form of the Imagined Order, perfection was still GENO's #1 goal. But you can't have a villain without a group of heroes, and even though the 7th story has been put on pause, a new one is just beginning. In the Icy Wasteland, mysterious shrines have been brought to the island. They look like Jedi temples, which would make sense because this is the headquarters of a new group called the Reality Warriors. As the name suggests, these are the protectors of reality who are hiding in the snowy mountains at Brutal Bastion. Their architecture is super weird, with floating orbs, circular diagrams, and statues of an unknown woman. In the outskirts of the ice biome, there's a forest, and the Reality Warriors have used it to hide their most valuable possession, the 0 Point. Locked away in a bronze vault, it's surrounded by rocks that give us a massive clue as to the identities of these warriors. If you compare the weird buildings and stone shrines to the modern-day sanctuary, it is way too similar to be a coincidence. The Reality Warriors are the 7 from thousands of years ago. But this has left one huge question on everyone's mind. While the Oathbound built statues of their king GENO, this group worships a woman in robes. She's holding a sword and shield in the exact same position as the Ageless statues, which is probably hinting at them being arch-enemies. And so while we try and figure out the identity of this woman, it's clear that she is probably the most important character in Chapter 4. If you remember the end event, we watched as the 7 rescued Agent Jones and flipped the island, but there was one piece of dialogue which never quite made sense until now.
Why does she make me keep saving you?
This was over a year ago, and we never learned who the Foundation was talking about, but it's possible this woman is the key to unlocking the entire storyline. Another important detail about the Reality Warriors is their floating orbs, which are a super weird design choice, but they were added on purpose. If you look at the original concept art for Sanctuary, the 7 had weird pods that were connected to the 0 Point. It's the same tech that the Reality Warriors use, and if that wasn't enough, their temples are filled with small hidden rooms. Inside of them, you can spot artwork of Looper Landing, which is the place where Foundation gave his famous speech at the start of Chapter 3. So now that you know about the 2 main forces on the island, you need to see what they're actually up to. It's only the first week of the season, and the Oathbound are already hard at work at total domination. They've discovered a place known as Shattered Slabs, where the rocks are mysteriously glowing. Immediately, they turned it into a quarry, mining the rocks and discovering a new material, kinetic ore. It's a huge upgrade for their medieval kingdom, which up until now is mostly built with stone and wood. Thanks to this discovery, the Oathbound are using the ore to create new technology. When the Reality was brought to the island, many towers and castles were still under construction and half finished. You can see materials being wheeled in on carts that look like they're falling apart. But closer to the Citadel, these carts have started to be replaced with hovercrafts, and this is terrifying news. The Oathbound have created new weapons like Shockwave hammers and Excalibur rifles, and they're looking stronger every single day. This power might have landed in the wrong hands, and Amy isn't helping. She survived the events of Fracture and has spent this time trying to figure out the Paradigm's instructions. So she begins to research the kinetic ore and realizes it wasn't on her old island, but here it's in the fuel, weapons, items, everything. She finds out that the owner of this quarry is the Ageless and visits his citadel to learn more. After he studies the refined ore, he says to Amy, "Your gift intrigues me, but do you truly know what you've given us?" That's a little ominous, right? And so with the bridge gone, this is the end of an era for the Imagined Order. No bunkers are on the island for the first time in FORTNITE's history, and there's no flip side anymore. It's more like a bowl shape now. This is essentially a prequel season without us actually going back in time, and that is terrifying because this could go anywhere. The Oathbound continue to establish control over the island and are quickly setting up the perfect kingdom. They have somehow managed to get the loop up and running again without access to the 0 Point. Now this also happened in Chapter 2 when the Foundation sealed himself in the Spire and the loop was completely unaffected. It's a great mystery that we have still yet to figure out, but there's one thing we know, and that is how dangerous the Oathbound is becoming. In the season's news tab, it mentioned bringing order to reality as the Ageless, which is a subtle hint that they'll bring the full force of the Imagined Order back to life again. This plan will be completed when the real GENO makes his way home. He is currently rebuilding himself atom by atom after being split apart by the 0 Point during collision. And he's not the only one reconstructing their body. Amy, without the 7 to guide her, is now becoming pretty self-aware. A few seasons ago, she talked about her ideal body with rocket launcher arms, knife feet, and a grappling grappling hook head, and this week's challenges end with a simple request. She wants us to make it for her. It is here we learn about the biggest mystery in Chapter 4, which is the Oathbound quest mentioning the Rift Warden, and we're left wondering who this is. It's an interesting title, as the Citadel is codenamed Light Castle, and rifts are notoriously known as light energy compared to the cube's dark. But the writers of FORTNITE has given us some more information about the Rift Warden. We'll have voice lines in the next few weeks, and currently their name is redacted. They also revealed that the Rift Warden will have a father, so they must play a very important role in this season. With the Reality Warriors having control of the Zero Point and the Oathbound currently raising an army, the Chapter 4 island is turning into a medieval battleground. The next few months will be pivotal in the war for the Zero Point, with the Oathbound preparing to use their new technology to take it by force. And so as we move away from the 7 and the IO that we followed for so many years, maybe, just maybe, this will end with all of us going back to the future. This has been Tommy, keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.
Alright, so what I'm getting out of this is that, like, I don't think I need to watch any lore for, like, storyline, for Chapter 4, Season 2 and 3, because I think I've already, like, figured it out. Like, I'm pretty sure that I don't even think, so, like, I already explained, like, what happened, I'm pretty sure, for Chapter 4, Season 2, but for this season that we're currently in, Chapter 4, Season 3, at the time I'm making this video, what I got out of it was that those little cracks in the ground and the camps that were set up by, who knows, I forget, I think it was, like, this new group or something, or maybe, I don't know, I forget, but it's somebody, and, apparently, it just blew up and released, a jungle, because that's just how physics work. But yeah, so what I'm getting out of this is that somewhere, maybe, like, at the end of Chapter 4, we're gonna have this huge battle between the 7, the IO, the, GENO, like, literally everybody. And Agent Jones. That's what I'm getting out of this. Like, at the end of Chapter 4, we're probably gonna have a huge, huge battle that's gonna be either a big finale, or Fortnite's just going to make another chapter, Chapter 5, and it's gonna be the final chapter of Fortnite. But I really hope not. Fortnite's a really fun game, you know? But to be completely honest, Fortnite is actually, like, this storyline is actually so confusing. I'm gonna have to rewatch this later or something, but that's just what I'm getting out of this. Fortnite's, Reality Zero, I don't know how the Zero Point, is the Zero Point, like, a person or something? That's just, or no, like, it's an orb, but it has, like, the brain of a human, because I'm not even joking, like, remember when he was, talking about how it just, like, zoomed off and connected the pieces? Like, that's kind of crazy. I'm just, like, really confused, though, because, like, how, like, somehow, half of the 7 is just completely gone. The Paradigm is gone. The Foundation is gone. The IO is gone. GENO is basically gone. Yeah, I actually have no idea. But I really hope that they're gonna start, like, at the end of this chapter, they're gonna have a whole, like, battle between everybody and everything, and hopefully explain, like, what the freak is going on. But with that being said, I'm gonna end this video right here. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.